Hello and welcome, I'm Liam, the music reviewer, and today we're going to be talking about the news surrounding the New Musical Express, otherwise known as the NME, who today announced that they were going to cease publication of their print edition and are now going to become a digital only title. The iconic music magazine has been around since 1952, and so a lot of people are sad about this news, and I for one am maybe a little bit sad to hear about this because I'd kind of grew up with the magazine during my teens, where it basically made me want to become a music journalist, but at the same time I'm not surprised at all to hear this news, and it basically comes down to the decisions that the NME has made over the past few years. But I think to get into that we need to discuss what basically happened back in September 2015. The NME decided, due to dwindling sales figures, that it was just going to become a free publication, and it obviously resonated with some people because after it went free, it had the highest peak in terms of circulation that it ever had, even more so than back in the 1960s during the Beatlemania craze, which really puts things into perspective, as well as officials in the industry were just saying how the NME just totally turned things around, and it just really struck a chord with their audience. So yeah, obviously there's people that think that what the NME did was a good move, but I for one am just not in that camp at all. So one of the first things people tell you if they dislike the NME, like I do, is the absolute idol worship that goes on in the NME, and the band that are at fault here, not at fault due to their own moves, but just because of how much the NME cover them, is Arctic Monkeys. The NME has always loved the Arctic Monkeys since their debut album, but it has become blatantly obvious that the people at the NME are absolute fanboys. And some of these articles, oh my god, they'll make you kind of wince, just because this is meant to be one of the most well-respected music publications, and now they're doing stuff like tracing their iconic logo throughout the years, 10 nerdy facts, reporting on a bloody petition to have Alex Turner's beard removed. It's all fucking drivel, if you ask me. This time could be better spent on shedding the spotlight on some other act, on anything else really, other than just keep repeating on the same point, echoing the same thing about, oh, the Arctic Monkeys are coming back. It just becomes so mundane to read the same kind of headline all the time. And I think to kind of connect that on, the clickbait that occurs in the NME is painful. It's utterly painful. It looks like Justin Bieber and Selena Gomez are back together and their fans are losing it, and random articles about Pokemon Go. Honestly, who reads the NME for this stuff? There's plenty of other places to get this news from, and why are the NME feeding into it? It just made me totally lose respect for them once they started doing this. If you've ever read a copy of old paid for NME, I've got a full cardboard box of stuff like this, and they would keep all these kind of stories basically till this little section called This Week, where if you can see it from there, they basically talk about any stories that nowadays they would run as a full thing. They would spend a whole page of it. Here, if you don't like that sort of stuff, then you could just basically skip it. It wouldn't ruin your experience reading it, because it's just concentrated into that one page. It's not throughout the whole thing where it basically just ruins it. And there's just been some really moronic moves in addition to these. Back in March of last year, Stormzy's image was used on a cover that explored mental health, which isn't unusual for NME. Back in the 1980s, they went with this story, which I think was called Youth Suicide, and it was a very important piece. So I was kind of happy to see them explore mental health, especially nowadays with it getting even worse and worse, and with us having to talk about it even more. I'll link to a video that I did about the whole stigma. But basically, Stormzy's image was used without his permission, which is even more insensitive when you realise that Stormzy has discussed his own mental health through his music. So yeah, it's kind of ethically dodgy, I would say. I don't know where Stormzy could what he could get out of that, considering that NME was free, so maybe they didn't really benefit from it. But it was just a really bad and sensitive move to do something like that, and it would really impact on people's respect for them. So there you've got just clickbait, idol worship, and just really bad moronic moves. And it's really not what the NME used to be. Again, I'm looking through this copy just now, especially the reviews. The reviews were the thing that I would always jump to as soon as I got a copy of this. And here they're all well written. There's definitely some some knowledge to these writers, and not to insult anyone that currently writes for NME. I don't think they would argue with me that when it comes to reviewing these albums, they're awfully generous on them. Like, I've looked through the past 100 album reviews that NME have done, which dates back to March 2017 till now, and only 4 album reviews have less than a 6 out of 10, which I think is utterly ridiculous considering that the only ones they went for, like, negatively were people like U2 and Linkin Park, which shows that they're basically pandering to this kind of audience where they're like, well, U2 suck and so do Linkin Park, but they've not got the kind of confidence to like call out when something's good or when something's bad. That's why when it comes to online publications, at least, which they'll now have to compete against, places like Pitchfork, yeah, you might not agree with all their reviews, or even Anthony Fantano, they've at least got the audacity to like call out something if they don't like it. The NME have not done that at all, and it basically was like the final nail in the coffin for me. They're not the only publication to do this. There was a whole MTV News fiasco where basically Chance the Rapper and Kings of Leon were saying, oh, well, if you don't remove these, we're not going to perform for you, and so it's definitely a problem that's like prevalent in the industry right now, but it was kind of like the thing that knocked over any integrity for NME as far as I'm concerned. And the thing is, while I would fork out money for this nearly every week, it was like £2.50, I was happy to pay that money. You can't really do that anymore. You've got places like DIY Mag, The Skinny, they sell their stuff for free, and they get the same aesthetic, the same kind of like good quality stuff there. Yeah, the DIY Mag might have the same problem of being a bit too generous with the review scores, but they're new. They've not got kind of like the history that NME do, where they've shown that they do have the knack to be harsh. But it is a shame. I feel more saddened by the fact that they've kind of had that fall to grace, as opposed to the fact that they're stopping this altogether. They're going to be starting this whole NME Gold thing, which might just rejuvenate the publication at this point, but I really don't know what's going to happen here. As far as I'm concerned, as the title of this may imply and what I've said already, they've lost their edge. I don't know if they can make it back from this. I'm always wanting to be optimistic. I hate to be cynical all the time. I hope that they do get back on their feet and start making good content, but just as it stands, I really don't think as a digital only title they're going to be able to compete with the rise of music reviewers on YouTube. Not myself obviously, but like the big ones like Dead End Hip Hop, Fantano, Spectrum Pulse. These are publications, or people more so, that really do have a lot of integrity behind them. And even with other ones like Pitchfork, Consequence of Sound, Stereo Gim and all that, Line of Best Fit, Goldflake Paint, BlinkClyro.com. You're going to have to go up against these people that have been doing it for longer than you, that have built up a reputation as that digital only title, as the alternative. And NME was meant to be that kind of alternative that stood up for the alternative. And it is a shame to see what's happened to them. But if you disagree with me, if you still read NME regularly and you like what they're doing, I would love to know what you think of what I've said so far, because I don't speak for everyone. I want to just get a discussion open and see just what everyone's thinking. But yeah, I've been Liam the Music Reviewer. I hope you're all doing well. Stay safe, stay hydrated, and I'll see you guys real soon.